Let's talk Impact, shall we? It's Wednesday, so let's talk some TNA here on Pop. So first off, this is the last taping that was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I know I said it last week, and I believe I said it the week before, but this is the last time you're going to see Bethlehem, Pennsylvania in this run of Impact. And of course, as of tomorrow, they are going to be going to the Grand Ballroom in New York City to start the New York Impact tapings, where all hell breaks loose and awesomeness occurs. Let's start off the show, shall we? Kurt Angle comes out. This is the Champion Showcase. All the championships are up for grabs, with one notable exception, and that is the World Heavyweight Championship. And that will be up for grabs next week when Lashley defends against the winner of a 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal that will be on the show tonight. So the first Impact taping in New York that airs tomorrow is going to utilize a match from Champion Showcase, technically. But he runs down the show and he talks about the matches we're going to see tonight. And he says that the Wolves are going to defend the World Tag Team titles against Bram and Magnus. And you're going to have Gail Kim put the Knockouts Championship up for grabs against Angelina Love, Madison Rayne, and Brittany. And on top of that, you're going to see Sanada defend the X Division Championship against Austin Aries. And finally, the aforementioned 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal to determine who's facing Lashley. But before anything can go any further, Kurt Angle needs to make sure someone else is on the same page that he is. And he calls out Willow to the ring. And Willow comes out twirling his black and white umbrella and cackling maniacally like he always does. And Kurt Angle gets down to brass tacks and says, basically, I realize that Willow is a very dark and violent place that Jeff Hardy had to go into in order to cope with the fact of the evil regime from Dixie Carter and MVP pulling him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So he had to go to that dark, dark place. Well, now Dixie's gone, she's out of power, and MVP does not have that Director of Wrestling Operations title anymore, because it's obviously Kurt Angle's. Angle says, you know what, you can trust me, so how about I bring out not Willow, but I need Jeff Hardy. I need Jeff Hardy. I need the charismatic enigma to be involved in this battle royal. And Willow thinks about it for a second, and he kind of nods, and they shake hands. And obviously, we think that he's going to go out and think about it. So that's the opening segment. So yeah, basically ran down the card, and that was pretty much all it did. It worked for what it was utilized for. We get Austin Aries in the back talking about his match against Sanada, saying Sanada's good, but he's not great. He's not the greatest man who ever lived. And the man who came up with Option C is going to try to make Lightning strike for the third time and make Option C work into making him, once again, your TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And we get our first match of the evening. It is for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, the Wolves, defending against Bram and Magnus. Bram and Magnus just came off a victory in the Monsters Ball match against Willow and Abyss. And they jumped the Wolves. So obviously, they're getting this match worked out. So we go midway through, right after the first commercial break. Magnus goes for a suplex. It gets blocked into a small package 1-2 and a kick out. So Davey Richards almost got the win right there. Ducks the right hand, picks him up. Davey elbows his way out, and Magnus ducks the enziguri kick. And Davey with a back leg round kick, Rob Van Dam style, to Magnus. Magnus tags in Bram, and he cuts off the tag, and eventually, finally, tag in. Eddie Edwards comes in. 13 chops, and yes, I did count. And I'm not talking about the revolutions for the giant swing for Cesaro. I'm talking about, I counted 13 chops in succession. Ducks the clothesline, spin kick, and 2 double chops, whip in, reverse, and misses the charge. Leaping kick to Magnus. Hits a shoulder block, he goes up top, and a missile drop kick to Bram, and he charges in and eats Bram's boot. Goes up to the middle rope, and Edwards with a leaping kick climbs up top to meet him, and he hits a Hurricane Rana off the top. 1-2, Bram kicks out. So Magnus goes for a double suplex with his partner Bram, and Davey catches Eddie Edwards, and they double low bridge Bram and Magnus, and stereo topes. He goes up top, and he howls, does Davey Richards. He leaps off, lands on his feet, going for the double stomp, the frog double stomp he likes to do. Boot in, a gut wrench is countered when Bram was sitting up for a gut wrench. It gets countered into a backslide by Davey, and Eddie leaps up and hits a jackknife cover because he's the legal man. 1, 2, 3, and the Wolves retain the World Tag Team Championships in a really awesome way to start off the show. Very enjoyable match, actually, between these two teams. And say what you want about Magnus personally, I know a lot of people do, but when it comes down to it, Bram and Magnus are a decent wrestling tag team, and I think this works pretty well. I actually think it works very well, and it's extremely ironic, given the fact, if you think about it, that back in the day, when Richards and Edwards were doing the run on NXT, they did that one TV match with the Ascension. I think that's hilarious that this match ends up happening because Kenneth Cameron used to be in the Ascension, and of course you know him as Bram, and he stepped out and he was replaced, but that's funny because the Ascension worked with the American Pitbulls, what they were called back then, so yeah, that was interesting. I know it means almost nothing, but it made sense in my head, so it sounded better in my head than it did coming out, apparently. Sorry about that. After the match is over, Bram and Magnus attack the Wolves, and Magnus pulls Bram off, so that's the end of that. So Magnus had to stop his partner from beating the daylights out of the Wolves, so this is not over between these two teams, not whatsoever. Bobby Roode wants MVP, flat out, plain simple. He doesn't care about injuries, doesn't care about wheelchairs, doesn't care about anything. He wants to fight MVP, and he does not care what he has to do to get it. So he comes out, and he says, you know, have you ever wanted something so bad? Something that you do anything in your power to have it? Yeah, we all have. Obviously, we have. And Bobby said, you know what? I was like that with the World Heavyweight Championship. MVP suspended me. He took away the business I love. But he's not the boss anymore. And you know what? If he wants to fight, I'll fight him right here and right now. Either you have two options. You come out, or I go drag you out, and then I beat your ass. That's pretty much what he says. MVP wills himself out in his wheelchair. Bobby Roode doesn't care about any of this. Obviously, he just goes up the ramp, he wants to fight, and he gets attacked from behind by Kenny King. And, of course, he ducks it, and he clotheslines Kenny King anyway, because Kenny King apparently cannot get anything correctly when it comes to being the lackey of the MLK stable. So, basically, he grabs MVP's wheelchair, and Roode wheels it down rapidly and knocks MVP out. And of course, King grabs a steel chair and nails him in the back with it. They beat him down. Eric Young comes out to make the save. And basically, there's a discus lariat on Kenny King. And Lashley comes in out of absolutely nowhere and spears EY. And MLK stand tall in the next segment of the show. This works pretty well. That we're leading towards a really momentous feud between Bobby Roode and MVP, and Roode and Eric Young against MLK. And once MVP is able to be cleared to wrestle again, I think this is actually going to work really well, and I definitely want to see these two work as soon as possible. Hopefully that'll be a reality. So, Cowboy James Storm once again is talking to Sanada in the back and basically says you don't want to upset your mentor, pretty much saying that he doesn't want Muta angry. And that's how he controls you, is the X Division Championship. What happens when you lose? And he says, you know what, I like you, but don't choke. So yeah, we're leading towards something here. I actually know what we're leading towards, but we can't really talk about it right now. Next match, and oh my god, was it fun. Saya Sanada defending the X Division Championship against the greatest man who ever lived, Austin Aries. We pick it up midway through this match. He goes up top, does Aries for the flying body press, and Sanada with a Pillman counter with a drop kick, and ducks the right hand, catches the back elbow, drop kick, ducks the clothesline, snap Rana by Sanada, and Aries goes down, charges in, gets back dropped over the top rope, lands on the ring apron, a shoulder block is countered, straight kick to the face, and he pulls him to the floor. Nails the somersault senton off the apron to Austin Aries, tosses him back in, and a springboard into a chop, and gets a 1 count off of it. So Aries is definitely come to fight here. The Dragon Suplex is countered into a knee breaker, into the snap backdrop driver, and Sanada ends up landing countered and landing on top of Aries, 1-2, and Aries kicks out. A boot in the midsection. He sets up for the tiger suplex, and he gets back to the corner, and Aries with the elbows, and then an overhand palm chop, and he charges in. Sanada gets the boot up, and a backbreaker, just a short backbreaker, goes up top, going for the moonsault. He gets stopped. Aries, underneath, goes for the powerbomb, and instead of going for the powerbomb or a Thunder Liger bomb or anything like that, what he does is he throws him backwards and he snake eyes him on the top turnbuckle. He nails the IED, and then he hits up for the brainbuster. It gets countered. Tiger suplex, 1-2, and no! Aries kicks out right in the nick of time. So, a scoop slam, not a backbreaker this time around. Goes up top, going for the moonsault. It connects, 1-2, and Aries kicks out. So, a backbreaker yet again goes up top. He lands on his feet, Aries out of the way, and just duns his party right good with a rolling elbow. Nails the knee breaker, hits the snap backdrop driver, the IED running dropkick in the corner, nails the brainbuster, 1, 2, and no! Sanada kicks out. So somehow, some way, the X Division champion is not able to have his shoulders put down to the canvas by Austin Aries, and Aries is getting beside himself at this point. He doesn't know exactly what to do. So he goes up top, and just like he won the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, he does it just the same way. 450 splash connects, 1, 2, 3, and Austin Aries, once again, is your TNA X Division champion. I love matches like this. You can obviously tell. I love matches like this. That's why I'm a commentator. I love to call matches like this, and this match was really good. It was a spot fest, yes it was, but it worked really well, and I really enjoyed the match. And I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with Aries. Now he has a decision to make. And Aries basically says in the locker room that everyone thinks he's just going to give up the X Division Championship like he has 2 times before, so why wouldn't he do it again? But Aries says, you know what, I'd like to be unpredictable. Maybe, just maybe, he won't cash in this time. Who knows? Well, I know, but I can't really say anything right now. So Bully Ray comes out, and obviously he wants answers from Rhino. He thought Rhino was his friend. And here comes EC3, Spud, and Rhino to the ring. Rhino says, shut up, Bully, I'll give you your answers. He calls Bully Ray a con man. He says, why isn't Devon here? It's a kind of a good question, actually. You use people like Paul E. Heyman and like Dixie Carter. The Carters have brainwashed you, Bully says to retort. You did sell out. This is jealousy from you, Rhino. I'm in the Hall of Fame because the fans said so. You're the reason you got fired from the WWE, and everyone's like, oh, that's a burn. And you're the reason you got fired from TNA. You were hardcore. Simply put, now you're just a bitch. EC3 says, you know what? You stole the spotlight from Rhino. And I paid Rhino well to take you out. Because I realize Rhino has a family, and they need to be fed, and they need to be paid, and they need to be taken care of. And I have the power to utilize just that. I can give him what he needs. And that's the reason why this happened. So Rhino gores Bully. And there's a 3-on-1. Here comes Tommy Dreamer out of the crowd with a Singapore cane. And he swings at EC3 and he powders. And of course, he canes Rhino before he does that. And Dreamer makes a save for Bully. So yeah, I like this. I love the ECW angle they're doing with this storyline. ECW versus the Carters. I really like the way this is going so far. And I love the end game. And I really wish I could talk about it right now. But I'm trying to stay away from spoilers, at least for the time being. I will tell you right now, the New York tapings are extremely fun. And pun intended in that case. So Angelina and Velvet are complaining. Obviously, they tried to swerve Stifler and get him to believe what they wanted him to believe, and of course that didn't work, because obviously Brian Hebner got thrown in the match. And basically, Angelina's all butthurt about having to face Gail and Brittany and Madison Rayne. She says she's going to break her own record once she wins tonight to become a 7-time Knockouts champion. Let's go get my title back, and her and Velvet walk to the ring. So that sets up our next match. Fatal 4-Way for the TNA Knockouts Championship. It is Gail Kim defending. It's Angelina Love, Madison Rayne, and Brittany. And we pick it up midway through this match. Gail with a flapjack on Madison comes off the ropes, and Angelina pulls her out and a facebuster to the floor. Brittany with a DDT on Madison, and Angelina stops Brittany and says, you know what, let's work together. So that's exactly what they do. Whips Angelina into an avalanche, and Brittany with a razzle-dazzle on Madison, and double elbow on Madison. No Pison elbow, just a double back elbow. That's all it was. Side slam to Madison, and Brittany with a side Russian leg sweep. Angelina makes the cover 1-2, and Brittany makes the save. Because obviously, allegiances don't matter when there's championships involved. So, they have shoving battle. Like, they shove each other back and forth. And they start trading forearms. Gail goes up top and nails a double missile drop kick on both. And nails the elbow off the ropes. Catches the clothesline. Whip in reverse. Charges into a back elbow. The 180 flying body press. And Angelina again makes a save. Madison kicks Angelina right in the side of the head. Handspring moonsault by Brittany on Gail. And a boot in and a raindrop by Madison. We're going to finishers galore here on Brittany. Botox injection on Brittany and eat defeat on Angelina. Finally finishes it 1-2-3, and Gail Kim retains the Knockouts Championship. A little disjointed in places, but it wasn't bad for what it was. Definitely compared to what we've been seeing from WWE lately. Yeah, 100% better. Not necessarily up to the NXT standards right now, but I mean, NXT right now on televised wrestling for WWE and TNA would probably be the gold standard right now, I guess you would say. And the Knockouts definitely would be very close neck and neck number 2. So it's not necessarily silver, but kind of just somewhat there. So yeah, and WWE, what they're doing right now is absolutely abysmal. So there's an announcement that Destination X is actually going to be on July 31st. It is going to be live on Spike. Not live on Spike, but it's going to be held on Spike. Obviously, it's one of those... It's one of those Impact tapings in New York. So, yes, Destination X will be there, and we'll see if Austin Aries will put his X Division Championship up against a World Heavyweight title shot against Lashley. Presuming Lashley walks out with the championship after the next match that Lashley has, which is going to be defending against the winner of what I'm about to talk about, and that is the 20-man over the top rope Battle Royal. So, we get to this, and basically the menagerie are in the back, and obviously they still owe money, and Crazy Steve, and The Freak, and Nux himself all need to get this job done regardless of what it takes. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of that. And Destination X should be a really entertaining show, and it's going to bring back a lot of names from the past. And I know a lot of superstars that did return that stuck around. So there is a few old school TNA superstars that are still on the roster now. So we'll talk about that as we progress. We get our 20-man over the top rope battle royal, and the winner will be facing Lashley for the World Heavyweight Championships. Your participants are Nux, Crazy Steve, The Freak, Bobby Roode, Kenny King, Showtime Eric Young, Ethan Carter III, Rockstar Spud, Cowboy James Storm, Saya Sanada, Mr. Anderson, Gunner, Manic, DJ Zima Ion, Jesse Goddard, Bully Ray, Tigre Uno, Gunner, Magnus, Bram, and of course, the final participant is actually Jeff Hardy. So we pick it up midway through, and this is basically the eliminations. We'll talk about that. So Jesse eliminates Crazy Steve right off the top. So the Freak eliminates Jesse, and Nux and the Freak end up eliminating Zima Ion. So the Freak is eliminated by Bram and Magnus, because we obviously have to utilize tag teams in this, because you have a short amount of time to do it. And then they throw Nux out. So Bram eliminates Tigre Uno, and then Magnus takes out Sanada. Bobby Roode eliminates Magnus, and then Storm eliminates Mr. Anderson. Storm eliminates Gunner, and Hardy eliminates Bram. So Abyss comes out to brawl with Bram, so the feud of Abyss and Bram is going to continue, and I'm sure they're going to build to something big there, maybe Stairway to Hell, potentially. Stairway to Hell with Janice. I'm pretty sure that's probably exactly what we build towards. And definitely barbed wire in one way or another. So they brawl to the back, and Kenny King eliminates Manic, and we come back to live action commercial break, and Bobby Roode eliminates his old beer money partner, James Storm, and Bully eliminates Rockstar Spud, and Bully and EC3 eliminate each other. Kenny King, Eric Young, Bobby Roode, and Jeff Hardy are your final four. So King eliminates Roode to the disgust of the crowd. EY eliminates Kenny King, and EY and Jeff Hardy are your final two. So they go back and forth. They shake hands first. Low bridge hangs on, and a Jericho-style dropkick by Jeff Hardy eliminates Eric Young. And Jeff Hardy is now going to go on to the show that is going to be on Spike tomorrow night in New York City to face off against Lashley for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And the show ends with Lashley and Hardy in a stare down. So that was Impact, and so many things to talk about. Really an entertaining show. What I'd recommend on this show, the Wolves and Bram and Magnus, definitely recommend that. Sanada and Aries is phenomenal. I'll definitely recommend that. I would say that I would honestly recommend the 4-way women's match was alright, and the Battle Royal was alright, but yeah, above everything else, I'd recommend the tag title match and the X Division title match, and gee, I'm shocked about that. So, what do we got on tap for tonight? Or tomorrow night, in this case. Our next Impact, which will be tomorrow at the Grand Ballroom at the Manhattan Center in New York City. TNA goes to NYC. And we have 4 matches already announced for the show. Now, first off, we have an 8-man X Division gauntlet. Austin Aries has one last chance to hold on to his championship and Option C as he battles DJ Zema Ion, Tigre Uno, Saya Sanada, The Wolves, Crazy Steve, and Manic. You're also going to see a tag team match of hardcore implications as Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray take on Rhino and Ethan Carter III. I've been waiting for Rhino and Bully Ray to go one-on-one for a long time, and I'm really excited to see this match. Once they get a one-on-one match, it's going to be really awesome. It's going to be a really great, violent match, and I'm really interested to see where we go from here. And we're finally going to get MVP cleared to wrestle. It's going to be 2/3 of MLK, MVP and Kenny King taking on Bobby Roode and Eric Young. And in our main event, the TNA World Heavyweight Championship will be up for grabs. Lashley defends against Jeff Hardy. So yes, so many awesome things come out of the New York taping. So many awesome things I cannot talk about right now, but I'm very excited for you. And by the way, if you are not aware, this is the first TNA taping that involves the bringing back, I guess you would say, the return of the 6-sided ring. So yeah, the 6-sided ring is back in full force in New York City tomorrow night, and I'm very excited to see how this works out, and it definitely is going to set everything apart. A lot of people are saying the reason why TNA went back to 6 sides is because Jeff Jarrett and Global Force Wrestling wanted to go back to 6 sides before, and TNA beat them back to the punch, but who knows at this point. Really excited for the show. TNA has become must-watch television for me. Now, granted, it kills me on writing because most of the stuff is a lot of talky time, a lot of interviews, a lot of promos. There's a lot of really great wrestling on TNA, and I'm very excited to be able to talk about it. Like I said, I really enjoyed talking about the Wolves and Bram and Magnus, and I'm very excited to be able to say I'm really excited for the X Division Gauntlet match. Anything on this show I'm looking forward to. So those 4 matches, really looking forward to what's going to happen when TNA goes to New York tomorrow. So yeah, that was Impact for this week. And definitely recommend those 2 matches, the World Tag Team title match and the X Division Championship match. Check both of those out if you get a chance. So, wrestling fans, you will join me yet again later this week. We will be doing a little Impact. Obviously, that goes to next Wednesday. And wrestling fans in general, you can also join me this weekend for NXT and SmackDown, as well as WWE Battleground. That recap is coming up on Monday, and Raw is coming up on Tuesday. And obviously, if you're a regular Pop viewer, we have AJ's movie reviews coming this Friday. We have 6 movies. We're talking about The Purge Anarchy. We're talking about Planes, Fire, and Rescue. We're talking about Sex Tape. We're talking about Third Person, Obvious Child, and Roger Ebert's documentary Life Itself. So that's going to come on Friday. Saturday, Ashley's Popcaster from Across the Pond, Gaming with Ash, returns, and we'll be talking all the video game knowledge you need to know, and that's going to be on Saturday. And of course, this Sunday, brand new verses. We're going to go David Fincher style, thanks to the idea from one of our fans out there. So yes, thank you for that, and you know exactly who you are. So, in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, help spread the word about Pop. If you haven't yet, go to Facebook and go to Suro and Disney Pop on Facebook and click like. Like our Facebook fan page. You want to go old school on Facebook, send me a friend request, go right ahead. It's Owen Disney. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Suro and Disney. And last but certainly not least, you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions. You want to talk WWE, you want to talk TNA, you want to talk Disney, Universal, Halloween Horror Nights, you want to ask me questions, or if you'd like to become a Popcaster yourself, you want to send content, you have ideas you want to see on Versus, segments you'd like to see happen in the future that you'd like us to do or like you to do yourself, you're more than welcome. Send me an email, sirowandisney@gmail.com. So in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.